Someone I barely knew was too lazy to ask me for a reference? Face the consequences.
This happened a few years ago. I received a phone call from an HR person from a staffing agency I almost worked for at one point. That's another funny story for another day. I got through the greetings and small talk and got down to business. HR, I have a person you know applying for a job with one of our customers. Me, sort of confused, no one gave me a heads up. Who are we talking about? HR, your friend Mo. Me, who? HR, Mo last name, he said he worked with you at the email company. Me, oh okay, I remember him. But I'm not sure why he'd put my name down, we didn't work all that closely. I interacted with his team only peripherally because we had equipment in his office. I don't really feel comfortable providing a reference. HR, well that's sort of our fault, we sort of pressured him to cough up references on the fly. Me, I don't feel comfortable providing a reference. HR, come on op, we know each other, help me out. Me, well not being his manager I can't discuss his performance.
HR, okay, can I ask you about his technical skills and you comment those? Me, fine, ask away. HR, how is Mo with software package number 1? Me, okay, I guess maybe 2.5 out of 5. 5/5 is extremely rare for this software, I might be 4.7 and I've used the software for 20 plus years and even flown to the vendor's HQ to work of technology issues and help design future versions of products with them. HR, great. How is he with hardware platform number 1?
Me, well in the time he was at the email company he never touched the platform. If he gained knowledge from elsewhere I can't comment. HR, wait, that can't be right. He said he lead the hardware platform number 1 refresh project. Me, well that's not true. HR, email company is huge, is it possible you weren't aware of the project? Me, no. I'm very aware of the project and he wasn't leading it. HR, how can you be so sure?
Me, because I lead that project. HR, very uncomfortably, oh. Me, I think it's best for everyone we end the call here. I think you have a phone call to make. HR, yeah that's probably best. I didn't necessarily bash him but just set the record straight. TLDR, someone I barely knew put me down as a job reference and lied about their experience and HR forced me to set the record straight. Bizarre that he'd use you as a reference while claiming he did your job. But I guess you were the first person to come to mind since he stole your job. LOL.
This is how I handle all job references. It's tough enough as it is.
I just read this post of yours, so that makes us like co-workers. I'm putting you as a reference, okay?
I had that happen once. She went to college with me and dated one of my ex-friends. A person who was more chaotic than a bag of cats and a pathological liar, as well as being someone who constantly put herself in debt by getting and then maxing out new credit cards. She put me down as a reference for a job at a bank. I was manager of my own company at the time and had been landlord to one of her friends briefly. Our told me that they were looking into her as a teller for their bank. I told them that if I went into their bank and saw her behind the counter, I would probably take all of my money from the bank.
Because any institution that would hire her obviously had no standards, background checks, or responsibility for money handling. She did not get the job.
A close friend used to work at an HR outsourcing type company. Other companies with small HR groups would hire them to do background checks, check references for candidates, etc. She told me that it was really common to be checking someone's references and for the reference to say something along of the lines of, huh, he listed me as a reference? Really? I had to fire him because he stole from the store, was caught selling weed on the job, got in a fight with a customer, or various other ways to get fired. Quote. I had someone put me down as a reference once. She was head of housekeeping in a national park lodge. She actively tried to get me fired. She stole from the housekeeping staff's tips. She tried to get me to falsify time cards for her friend. She falsified my performance evaluation and stole equipment from our employers. She had been fired and kicked out of the park. Yet she had the cojones to put me down as a reference. I had a similar thing happen. My manager called me into the office and asked about a guy who was applying for a job that was working at my previous employer. I didn't actually know him. Got hired after I left, but said I could ask around. She showed me the part of his resume where he listed his job title and description from my old workplace, and I told her I was suspicious of the job title. Think assistant to the regional manager, when there were never any such position while I was there. I also knew who the regional manager was. It was a very flat structure. Think one big boss, two managers, and then everyone else. This guy was trying to make it seem as if he was one of the two managers, which I knew was not true as I knew who they were. I felt a bit bad as it was possible they had added a new position and this guy was telling the truth. So I asked around with people still there and they said he was a good guy but not a manager or assistant manager of any sort. Ironically enough, he was plenty qualified for the job at his actual position and didn't need to fudge things. He would have definitely got an interview and likely been hired, but because he got caught lying, my boss never even called him in for an interview. I got a call a few years ago and all I said was, "Jim did not ask my permission to use me as a reference." The person on the other end seemed to understand. On the other hand, I once got an unexpected call checking someone and I scrambled to find good things to say about them, and then chewed them out privately later. Yeah, this does sound like an agency. They're under pressure to fill the position and make the sale. This person's boss probably has a whatever it takes sign in his office. And using someone as a reference without giving them the heads up, no bueno. My buddy BG has told me I can use him as a reference anytime. But we've known each other for 40 plus years. And have a lot of respect for each other. Good job laying out the truth for them.
Where'd he use the person whose job he lied about taking as a reference?
You can't fix stupid.
20-some years ago when I was managing a retail location, I got this phone call. HR person. "Hi, I'm calling for a reference for terminated employee. Quote, me. You know that, under Ontario law, I'm not really allowed to say anything bad about him. Right? Quote, HR person. Yes? Quote, me. So, did you see that Tigers game yesterday? Quote, really? Geez. I once was going through vetting for a job during the holidays. 4 of my 5 prepped and willing to be references were on vacation. So I'm digging through my contacts, trying to ping almost anyone I used to work with to be a reference. HR understood and finally settled on my just previous job's supervisor and 2 jobs ago coworker. I asked no one to lie. I made sure everyone knew I was at that point in the interview process. In these cases, it's better not to say anything negative. In fact, HR knows that when you say, "I can't comment on that," that is well-known code for trashing the person. It's one of the best real-world cases of, if you can't say something nice, say nothing. I had something similar years ago. Except it was for security clearance for something military related. Our company has nothing to do with the military. Does no government work, so odd choice straight up. Ex-employee I hadn't worked with son used me as a reference. It went poorly. Always ask the people you're listing if it's okay to list them. Always. Most are fine with it. Those blindsided by you not doing so, not so much. The first time I was going for a real job after university, I put down references for the people who were my bosses at my part-time jobs. One of them called me to tell me that I was supposed to ask first. I didn't know that. I had an ex-employee. Good worker, but the wrong fit for the job. They were good at maintenance but bad at sales and organization. Got a call from a company he applied to. The references went well until they asked about his salary. This was over a decade ago. He was earning about $80,000 with us, which was good for late 2000s. They asked what his position was. He said he was a territory manager, which was almost true. I told them that we didn't have that title, but some of his responsibilities were in that vein. Then they asked if it was true that he earned $240,000 per year with us. I said I couldn't tell them his salary, but that I found the amount he mentioned interesting. HR caught the intonation in my voice. Interesting in what way? I commented that I couldn't be specific, but in general that was a triple interesting comment. HR laughed and said that they understood. They described the position he was applying to and I told them that I thought he would be very good at that position, which he would be. He ended up getting the job, but not OFR $240,000. As someone who hired, I don't like it when I catch a lie in an interview or resume. And definitely don't ask me to back up that lie.
Well, good for you, I guess.
Not really malicious compliance. You answered honestly, which you should always do, to our.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.